Welcome to Nintendo Voice Chat for the week of August 6, 2015. I am your host, Jose Otero, and we have a great show for you today. Joining me once again, Brian Altano. And Per Schneider.
Hi, Jose.
How's it going? You just came back from a business trip. How are you feeling?
Good. I was in Texas. It was it was 105 degrees.
And on your way to the 105 degree
yeah.
heat, you got to play more Fire Emblem Fates. So why don't you talk about that?
I played. I played in the airplane. It's a long flight. It's good. I'm enjoying it.
Hoshido side.
I'm playing Hoshido side, and I'm playing on normal, which has proven to be a mistake. I think it's too easy on normal playing Hoshido if you've already played a Fire Emblem game before. And I'm if my characters die, they're gone. There's options obviously to make it easier where
So you're playing with
characters
permadeath
come back.
on.
I have permadeath on normal. It's too easy. I'm playing Hoshido because I was planning to play the other side with the American version when we get it. Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this before I get into a little more of what you've seen. With Awakening, what difficulty did you play? Because the Hoshido side is supposed to somewhat resemble the Awakening style Animal Crossing.
No. Awakening is harder. Awakening is harder for sure.
Normal?
Yeah, on normal. I started on normal and then I bumped it up later and played it.
Okay, so I ran into that problem with Awakening where hard was too difficult.
Yeah.
Initially I started on hard, got frustrated because I kept dying, went to normal.
Yeah.
Steamrolled through most of it and felt very unsatisfied, then started on hard again.
Yeah, here's the trick, right? And this game is doing this too. You have certain levels in Awakening where you think you're seeing all your enemies. Then you're in the middle of the level, you've got a strategy, you're splitting up your troops, and then 2 units appear from a stairwell on the right. 2 units appear on a stairwell from the left, and they just happen to have bows and arrows, and you've got a Pegasus Knight or something, right?
Squishy class.
So there are those moments where when it's on hard and you don't know the level yet, it can really screw you over, and that certainly happens in Fates as well. Like I'm on a level where new units come in, but I know the language of Fire Emblem, so I saw those stairs. I'm like, okay, I know what's going to happen, so I just occupied them, put some units on it, and was safe.
Nice. Okay.
But yeah, it's definitely got that factor, and it happened. You have it in games like XCOM too, where when you're playing the level for the first time, you're playing it for the first time on hard, you're probably screwed.
Yeah.
Right.
No, and I ran into that especially with Chapter 5.
Yeah.
Because on Chapter 5 on hard difficulty, there's a unit that's doubled up, and there's an extra of a different class of unit. I don't want to get into too many specifics because I feel like some people want to go impure, and it just played hell with me. Like I could not get through it because the double unit had a very special weapon that was causing me a lot of trouble. So ultimately, I decided, all right, I'm going back to normal. I can't do this. However, I do know that on this game, you can set the difficulty down a notch. So if you're on hard difficulty and you feel it's too difficult, you can set it down to normal. Or you can set it down to the. I don't think there's something below that.
At any time?
At any time, but you can't go back.
You can't go back up.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
You can't rise up the ladder. So, you can only go down.
And I think that's probably also that. Yeah, I mean, a lot of games do that, right? Where you can make it easier and you get credit for all the difficulties below, but not the one above, until you go back and replay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, but you feeling it? Like, how about just mechanically?
No, I like the game a lot. It hasn't done a lot of new stuff yet. I mean, there's obviously the kind of the My Village part, right, where you customize, and we talked about the weird face touching stuff and relationship building. It's interesting. I think there's definitely on hard too, there's more reliance on teaming up troops, so not just having them as support, like fighting alongside each other, but actually combining 2 units into one to make sure they survive in some of the tougher spots, especially when you encounter NPCs or you encounter neutral units that you can win over, and sometimes they're super weak, and you got to protect them, so that you got to double them up. Certainly when you're playing on harder. No, it's good so far. There's some interesting stuff where you're interacting with the environment, right? You have like these glowing spots that you can trigger, and it triggers an environmental effect. Like for example, level I'm in the forest, and it triggers these like bamboo spears that come out of the ground. So anybody who is at the beginning of the next round left standing on it takes 2 points damage.
That's cool.
That includes you and the enemy. Yeah, and so I haven't seen it done like that the way it's implemented here. It's interesting because it makes you can plan ahead that you're going to cut off your enemy units by using one of the environmental hazards like that, or you can just leave them alone and try to not have your enemy trigger them against you as well. So it's got some interesting things. I'm not loving it. I'm not liking it as much as Awakening, but also my memory of Awakening includes all the kind of like the kids and all the matchmaking, which I haven't quite gotten to yet in the storyline.
Yeah.
And as we suspected, there's quite a lot of mixing and matching of the two factions going on, right? There are definitely some characters you can recruit. We'll see. So far, so good. I mean, definitely visually, it's much better. If you're thinking about importing, don't. It's super talky.
Super talky.
Like just even ignoring the conversations you can have with characters after the matches. There's just a lot of setup, a lot of discussion between the characters, a lot of kind of like, oh, I mistrust this guy, and then I learn to like him, kind of like storyline stuff.
It's not out here for a while, right?
No, 2016. Yeah. Like you're hearing these impressions very early. Before localization has really gone in and done a lot of work. I will say I do like this whole art style they went with, where it's 2D and then it sort of blossoms up, almost like a pop-up book. And I think we've talked about this in the past, but if you look in the background, you actually see other troops, just like cutouts. Like they're not really moving, they're not doing anything, but I still love that effect of just seeing it sort of... And you see everything sort of pop out and take a 3D shape.
I mean, look, again, it's a really quality game, and I think my only real issue with it right now is that normal on Hoshido is a little bit too easy for me. But I've also played every game in the series, so I was being an idiot by choosing that difficulty.
They've had you since 1990 was the first Fire Emblem with those characters. No?
Yep. No, I first played it on the Super NES on the Super Famicom, and then went back and played the old ones because they got re-released and included. So
cool.
Yeah, it's a good game. I'm excited to see what's going to happen when it gets translated. And they have some really crazy characters, and they're really pushing the envelope as far as kind of character design. Like, there are a lot of androgynous characters in this game where like you cannot tell whether they're men or women without hearing them speak, and you're like, oh, I didn't know. Like it's really interesting. It is. They went full on anime with this one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, they had a manga writer, so maybe that played
for sure.
Okay. Brian, you are interested in this game, correct? Like, or are you less of a Fire Emblem, more of an Advance
Not so
Wars?
much. Yeah,
Advance Wars or no?
I'm definitely more of an Advance Wars guy.
Okay.
I found that to be like slightly more arcadey, and I think the story was just goofy enough that I could get into it.
The big wrench helps too.
Yeah, that's
like
very
that.
nice.
Yeah.
I played some of the last Fire Emblem game, and I enjoyed it, and I totally understand why people put hundreds of hours into it, but it's not particularly my kind of game.
Okay. I will say this. Just before we leave the topic of Fire Emblem, the next thing I want as an expansion spin-off kind of game is a Fire Emblem Musou game. I want a Fire Emblem Warriors game. Like, I just feel like there's enough characters in that universe, and they can have fun with that.
That actually matches that universe really well. Like just kind of unlocking more and more characters and the different fighting styles. You've got, horseback and everything. That could be really, really cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Good idea.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on, I've been playing more Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer, and what I have been most pleased with, we've talked about a little bit already, which is how the interface overhaul has made it a game that I enjoy sort of assembling and putting everything carefully where I want it to be. What I didn't realize at first is that at your desk every day, I mentioned that you save the game. You sort of sit down and you file a report, and that will push time forward. It'll save your game, and it'll push time to the next day.
Yeah.
And you have the option of continue on to the next day or quit for the day. The option underneath the report is, and you can start the day with this too, is sort of like just an opportunity to learn a new skill, and you learn these new skills through play coins. So your play coins, which you accumulate from walking, that they feel very underutilized by most games.
Yep.
If you think about it, the Street Pass games use them for random benefits, but most like games you buy from Nintendo, I feel like don't really use play coins in a meaningful way, even though they're trying to reward you for walking around essentially and carrying your 3DS with you. So you pay these coins and you get different collections or different abilities. One of them, for example, is to hang ceiling fans or ceiling lights, and they do a transparency effect. Another is a QR code reader, where all of the QR code stuff that was really, really cool in the prior Animal Crossing and New Leaf, you can not only scan QR codes and bring them into the game, you can hold more of them. So it was on New Leaf, there was a very limited number of space, I felt, for QR codes. And I don't know if it expanded. I didn't play enough of New Leaf to really toy around with that stuff. But I've seen people online did incredible things with QR codes. They paved roads on their streets. They did all this kind of stuff.
Yep.
It holds a lot more there as well.
Well, there's more room now because they took out the entire rest
Yeah,
of
that's
the game.
the entire world if you think about it.
So these are all sort of like fake paywalled behind play coins, right?
Basically, yeah.
That's
And so
interesting.
you'll buy these things. A pair actually translated a list, and we talked about it a little last week. But I find that those skills are when you really get down into it. I have like 8 clients, I think, that I've made houses for. I've completely cleaned up Main Street. And the cool thing is, once you've done enough upgrades, you get an opportunity. Like, once you learn a new ability, like let's say, for example, I could hang signs. I'm like, man, I wish I had this when I had designed the hospital, because I would have put like signs pointing in all these directions. What's cool is that then it opens up to, oh no, you can redesign those spaces. And in fact, some cases you can upgrade them. For example, when you first design the school, it's just a 1 floor, 1 classroom deal.
Yep.
But then later, you're able to split it up into multiple rooms. You're able to hang more things, and the exterior gets completely remodeled. It looks way more modern now. Stuff like that I really like.
Cool.
Like, it's all like very design focused. It's a compartment of, like, I've gone back to New Leaf recently because I have noticed when I talk to you guys, there is sort of a, I don't want to say a dissatisfaction, but a slight disappointment in that this isn't the next Animal Crossing. And I keep playing the New Leaf, trying to figure out why I'm okay with Happy Home Designer.
Sure.
And I think at the end of the day, it is that it is a spinoff and something different. Whereas I don't think the people who made New Leaf or the people who make this series want you to move on from one console. Like, I don't. Yeah, time just changed. So for those listening to the show, I have my 3DS open on my desk with New Leaf on because I'm trying to get a tan. And this is what it takes. You got to stand in the sun for like 4 hours, which is embarrassing, but I'll play ball for now. Anyway, so
This makes me
I will
want
say
to
that
go pee.
it feels like a spin-off title. I think if you're not willing to invest in that spin-off, I get it. That's fine. I just do still think it has a lot of the charm, a lot of very easy to export pictures and tweet about them, very much like Tomodachi Life, where you can like just, here's a random thing that happened. Like, very, very shareable.
Which is
it's
smart,
still
very smart.
Very smart. But it's still sort of, because they're just, it switches over to the internet browser to go through a web app. Like, there's still like those steps involved.
But it's very, I mean, how would you describe it? It's very much a collection, kind of like, if you're the kind of person who collects things and puts them on your backpack,
Which I'm into.
that's what it's for.
Yeah.
I'm into. I don't put things in my backpack, but I'm into this because
Your little yellow black
I think
backpack?
I'm into house arrest because I think it's a good idea.
House arrest.
I also like. I don't know if I told you guys this, but my Animal Crossing New Leaf save file vanished.
Oh yeah, when you
It
transferred,
was
right?
like 70 hours or something.
Jesus.
Like I built the IGN studio in the back of my home. Like I had an arcade with all
I
that
think your house
Nintendo
is still
stuff.
in my block. I
Or,
saved it.
or so you claim.
Well, that doesn't help me.
It doesn't, because I can't give it back. No, but seriously though, I think it's good enough. I really enjoy it. I will say, it feels like a spinoff game. My only disappointment with this spinoff is that I wish there was Street Pass functionality of some kind, because I do
weird
feel
there's
like
not,
one
right?
of the most fun parts of Animal Crossing is the ability to keep up with the Joneses, to see what's going on in another house, and say, I want that couch. I could do something better with this.
And you know
it
for sure
doesn't
it's
have
not in
any of
there.
that. It's not.
That's so weird,
The,
especially
the social aspect is sharing on Miiverse or sharing on Twitter, like
which is
tweeting,
odd,
or
right?
Facebook
If
or
they
Tumblr.
if they put in the Playcoin stuff, that means they want you to take this game and walk around with it, but they're not really rewarding you outside of that. Maybe that is why they put the Playcoin stuff in there.
You have to wait for the mobile app that connects it all.
Yeah.
I think
I'm sure that's what it is, no?
When
I
Animal
hope so.
Crossing comes to NX, here's a couple things I want, though. This is what this has set off in my mind. Number one, I want the next game to really dive into some of these jobs where, like, if you took a job in Animal Crossing as a designer, this is what you're primarily doing. If you took a job as a chef, you're doing something else.
Like
If you took
Fantasy
a job
Life?
go the fantasy life route, but don't give people objectives. Keep it as open as it has always been for the most part. Let them choose what they want to do. That's my first thing. My second thing is, and I feel the same way about Mario Maker. You're going to ask why in a minute. The minute
Why?
Nintendo goes away from touchscreens, I feel like this game, Happy Home Designer, and Mario Maker are gonna suffer as a result.
Yeah.
The interface is so natural and it's so easy to use. I feel like the minute, if that is part of the plan to move away from touchscreens, those franchises are gonna. It's not that it can't be done. Like, we've been doing things with controllers like this for years, but it won't feel as cool.
Well, it also puts
It won't.
a huge sort of damper on their backwards compatibility of the last 10, 12 years. I mean, how long have they been making touchscreen games at this point?
Yeah,
Right?
so I almost feel like the breakthroughs on those 2 games make me feel like touchscreens need to be a part of the next thing if these series are going to continue.
Yeah, but if NX, for example, is a device that interfaces with others, you could imagine them allowing you to use an iPad or an Android
Or your
tablet
phone,
as an
yeah.
interface, right?
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't count it out just because they're going away from a touchscreen, which we don't know,
No,
right?
we don't know that.
Like,
yeah.
I thought by now they would have dropped the second screen on the 2DS/3DS to go to a single touch screen. I always thought they'd continue touchscreen but make it a single. But I think they like that differentiating factor to a phone, right? Like it looks so different when you see it.
Yeah.
Well, and the UI, again, like the
Sandwich.
UI works really, really well.
Yeah.
And in both those instances, I just feel like they're really strong efforts of what you can do with that.
Yep.
And so I'm kind of sad if, there's a Mario Maker 2 or the next Animal Crossing would not have that. I just feel like I hope they find an elegant way to get around it.
I mean, they'll make it work, but it won't work as well. And that'll be the reality of it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a bummer because I mean they have been doing, but it's weird if you look at the 3DS, they've kind of moved away from a lot of touchscreen intense type things.
Well, they're not forcing it in every game.
Right, which
Yeah.
is what they did a lot during the DS. Like I mean,
Yeah.
I went and downloaded Star Fox. What is it? Assault? The DS one?
Yeah.
Is that the one?
Yeah, that's on the Wii U eShop right now.
Yeah, and you have to play the entire. I mean, you control your ship with the stylus.
Yeah.
You don't have options to switch that off.
Hate it.
And it's very cumbersome, right? And like occasionally it works, but it's like why is this here?
Yeah.
You know,
well, the Zelda games too, right?
Yeah.
Like they went full touchscreen, full stylus,
But that
which
was
is they
advantageous
basically
too.
they turned the Zelda games into more puzzle games rather than like action and
Yeah.
you know.
Which I was actually a big defender of. I always thought that Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass worked well because they were designed around that. Whereas Star Fox Assault felt like it was a N64 game that got ported to DS and
Yeah.
suddenly had to
All right,
be
fair
forced
enough.
to use a
Yeah.
touchscreen.
I was
do
happy
think-
when Between Worlds went back to the direct sword control.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I just
no, me
like that
too.
so much better.
Me
No,
too.
and I will
too.
point out that maybe the way around it too, if NX is a home console, is you just do like another Wii remote style, like pick it up and drop it using like a sensor bar somewhere on your TV. But I do think with the next system, you may want to move away from the Wii remote.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like its time has very much worked out for them, and it's time to move on.
I
Well,
mean,
it's-
I would say most people don't even use it now with the Wii U, right? I mean,
Well, most of our friends don't, but I'm sure
it didn't
some
come. I
people
mean, it
do.
didn't come in the box. So
Yeah.
right off
No.
the bat, anybody who bought one had to go get it separately.
It's ironic too because some of the VR stuff now that's coming out, certainly Morpheus from Sony really benefits from the motion sensor
Yeah.
controllers,
Yeah.
right? Like if you played any of the Morpheus demos, some of them rely on you having 2 PlayStation Move controllers, which double as your guns or your hands, and it feels so different from holding a single controller.
Definitely.
But I don't think Nintendo is going in the VR direction at
No,
all. I saw
at
somebody
all.
wrote a piece saying they are creating VR that's social. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, they're not interested in it.
No, they're not interested. And to be fair, I don't think I'm interested right now, at least in VR. I haven't seen something.
Oh
that's
man,
made
I
me
want a
interested.
Morpheus right now.
I got so motion sick, dude.
Really?
Like, yeah, I get motion sick.
Long time
I
ago
put it
or recent?
The last time I tried was Alien Isolation.
Okay, it's
and
been a
the
while.
Well, not that long. That's almost a year from now.
Yeah. So the latency. I mean, with every iteration, they're bringing down the latency
Okay.
and the frame rate. They're really focusing on making things steady for it.
All right, maybe
You
I'll
can't
try
just.
again.
I feel like you can't just take a game and slap VR goggles onto it.
No, and I
You
tried some of
need
the
to
demo
create
stuff.
stuff.
too.
build
So
it from the
Dan
ground up.
sat me down with some of the custom demos for it, and the minute he moved forward, my stomach just
No.
said, "We're done."
Cockpit
Take
games,
it off.
like
it off now.
driving, flying, all that stuff is awesome on VR. It's so good. Walking around, I'm not a big fan of because
Okay,
your
I'll try
body,
flying.
your eyes are saying you're doing something that your body doesn't feel like you're doing. Whereas like in some of the other demos I played, you're actually standing up and looking for stuff, or you're holding a gun, and it feels really natural.
Sure.
Sure.
Anyway, tangent.
Yeah, no, but a good one. Anyway, that's where I wanted to take that. Brian, we have been playing Super Mario Maker.
Yes, we have.
And for folks at
Man.
home, you definitely want to stay tuned to IGN next week because we have a series of really cool videos for you. IGN recently participated in an editor challenge, essentially, where each editor is designing a level with a specific coworker in mind, and the idea is to challenge that person to beat their level. I picked Brian because
Just why not? We go back.
We go
You
back.
like to torture him?
And we like to torture
Perhaps,
each other.
yeah, well,
I'm going to get
I
my
mean,
revenge in a few days.
I wish you luck. But
Yeah.
go ahead. What?
I watched the video earlier. There was a lot of bleeping.
Yeah, I got really angry. Well, so here's what's really great about this game that I think is very
don't
wonderful.
spoil too much because I want people to watch the
I
video.
won't.
Sorry.
I'm actually not going to say. I'm going to. I'd rather sort of like talk about the kind of design philosophy that I find comes from
Evil
like this.
people?
Oh, evil people, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But what's so fascinating about this game to me is that they have opened up the tools that they've used for so long to create Mario levels, or ostensibly, right? Or given us a version of what those tools are. But I think the surprise that has come from that is that Mario levels have always been designed with a certain sense of intuition in terms of the way they're laid out and the way they're played, in that there's kind of a level, there's a safety net level of trust that you have when you're playing a classic Mario level.
You can't get yourself in trouble, for example, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where you kind of go, I know the designers know that if I ran through this area right here and I take this crazy leap of faith, I'm going to land on something, because they know that a lot of players are probably setting that up. Jose wasn't around for that.
No, hang on.
No, hold on,
Wait,
hold on,
no, I'll let you finish. Hold on, that's crazy.
I like where this is going.
No,
Yeah, keep
not
going.
at all. You cannot just take a leap of faith off of any single platform. In
Not
Mario.
any single one, but I think that
Yeah.
there are stretches in Mario levels where they go, let's bake into the fact that there might be some momentum coming from
There
player
might be
movement
some
here.
fool who just jumps off a cliff. Let's put a net underneath.
No, not a net.
You're
not a
fool.
net.
I don't mean it that
No,
way.
no,
but
it's
you know what
fine.
I mean?
To be fair, though, in a classic Mario level, when you come to a cliff, the first time they're going to have they're going to have a safety net,
they
and
don't
Zelda
hold your
does that
hand
too.
the whole time.
Like if you think about like Zelda and Metroid games, like you'll fall into a pit, but there's a floor there.
Okay.
The second time they put lava at the bottom, but you can get out. The third time you're
In
dead.
defense of the creator, I wasn't making this level with the intent of holding
Don't
your
not
hand.
don't take this as
I
a
was
personal
making
attack.
The level. I'm not.
Yeah.
I was making the level
Don't
to
take this as a
challenge you.
This is not a personal attack.
Okay.
This is about anybody can go into this game and make something that completely reimagines the constructs of what I feel a Mario level is like. And that's both good and bad, because it does a lot of things where you're like, Miyamoto and his friends would have never done this to me.
Yeah.
Like you set up something where you go through a door and you walk in and there's a dead end. And when I came back out, or inside the door there's a power up, and I'd come back out and immediately was attacked by 5 enemies. And there's no way to get through it.
Yeah.
So then Jose had to go into the level creator and move the enemies over a few inches.
That was
because
unfair.
no Mario game in history has ever immediately killed you when you exit a door.
So timeout.
Ever. Right? Am I wrong?
Again,
Am I wrong?
To my defense, playtesting
You're taking it
reveals
so
a lot
personal.
of. No, it's not. I actually want to put context for people, because I feel like this is the best part about this experience. It is that I have never experienced what a playtest is like. First of all, I've never designed a game. Oh, like we talked about that, but
We couldn't tell.
you could.
I thought your level was really funny, by the way.
Thank you.
It was. I thought so too.
Yeah.
But the part that he's talking about, I put a door and I put these giant Goombas with wings there.
Yeah.
And I set it up so that they're jumping in front of the door and he wouldn't be able to see it at first. That was the intent.
Yeah.
But what I didn't take into account is that when he travels through that door, let's say he stomped them all out. When he comes back out, that's where they spawn. So in order to compensate for that, I had to move them back a few spaces, but that didn't make it into the video.
No.
It was also interesting.
But playtesting shows you that.
Yeah.
It shows you like, holy cow, like I never thought that would be a thing.
I also liked in the video there's a moment where it is clear you didn't want Brian to get over a certain obstacle the way he did.
Yeah.
Right? And that I think that happens a lot, and it really shows you how smartly designed Mario levels are, right? Like
have an
when they
appreciation.
don't want you to get into a certain area, you cannot get into the certain area. Yeah.
Like he set up something that was difficult, and I found a way to make it easier that he didn't think about doing. And that's like classic game testing, right? It's sort of just like, let's play a game differently than the designers. I mean, a lot of people go, I want to test games for a living, and they don't really understand that it's mostly jumping into walls or doing things that the developer never wanted you to do, and trying to intentionally trying to break the game. And you get a little of that with Mario Maker, where you get to sort of like try out stuff that the creator didn't really want you to do. So that's what I really appreciated. And don't take it personal, but we learned that from your level on the fly, is you're just like, oh, there's little tweaks I can make that you don't. It's when you get in your own head making something for so long, and then you pass it to somebody else, and they go, oh, wow, this is interesting. This is my take on it. And some people get defensive, Jose, and some people go, they get inspired.
Hang on. I'm not getting defensive. I just feel like I want to explain some of it, because there is some context to it all. And at the end of the day, like, This has been a really cool learning experience.
Yeah.
Like I think I'm going to spend hours playing around with like trying to find ways to make things. Not always trying to troll him. I mean, to be honest, the purpose of my level was to kind of troll him a little bit, but not as hard as on the live stream. Like on the live stream, you came up with that evil idea where he would jump, and I'd put 3 invisible blocks on a platform, and you just said, "Hey, keep it going." Make it go like 5 across. And I'm just like, but Pear, that's me. And he was like, no, it'll be great. Trust me. And so I did it. And it was really funny.
But then we did do the Nintendo thing where we gave an indicator where the opening was. So we put coins above the opening.
He didn't realize that.
So yeah, when you pay attention though, the second time you play, you remember it. You're like, oh, that's where it is.
Sometimes you notice some playtesters aren't quite as talented as others.
Oh.
Just out of curiosity, and don't take it personal.
No, it's fine. I mean, like
okay.
it's like reviewing a bad restaurant, you know. Like sometimes, you know, even if you're not a great writer, the food's bad, so it's tough.
I can't wait till people see this video. The one thing I was surprised off is that you didn't know how the music notes work.
They don't always work. Okay, so the music notes.
Yeah.
They don't always work perfectly. Like I've been playing Mario games my entire life. No, seriously, the music notes kind of suck.
Really?
Like I think that
you guys were playing World. You guys were playing World.
Yeah,
they're a little more finicky
World.
for sure.
Context for folks, we're talking about the music notes that bounce that you first saw in Super Mario Brothers 3. They're blocks. And they are in Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario World, and you've seen them in New Super Mario.
There's another thing I wanted
to
add.
You were holding the button, but you had to hit it in order to jump high.
You have to time the jump so that you come off.
Yeah, and it's like it kind of works when you have momentum, but when you're trying to jump off the ground onto something else, it's a little more cumbersome.
Okay, but here's the thing. I always made sure you could, but they are hard jumps. I'm going to say that. Like any idea you played in there, I want to say 90% of them, after I made it, I would just quickly test it and go, okay, that could work, that could work. That's why the time you took the turtle shell with you and you just completely sidestepped
hold on.
That was good.
That was amazing.
Yeah,
like,
but
let's
be fair here. Like if you watch our live stream breakout videos of Mario Maker, I'm good at Mario games. Like I'm seriously. I'm good at, I'm probably better than both of you.
Yeah, but you 100%. Only good because you know those stages as well as you do.
No, I'm good because I've been playing platforming games since 1985.
So why did you die horribly on some of my stuff?
Because I feel like the music note thing was just bad. It was bad level design.
Wow.
It was just bad. It's cumbersome. And I think it like Pear said, it depends on the game you're playing.
I hate the music notes, by the way. I really don't like them. I don't think anybody likes them.
Most of this office hates them. I'm fine with them.
Really?
So put the other thing in your level. I want to.
I don't want to. Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk about too was the control intricacies are very important too. Here's where things kind of trip me up a little bit.
Okay.
So I play a lot of New Super Mario Brothers, right? Which is the newer ones. You play with the Wii remote, or any of the games would have. How are they for babies?
They hold your hand a lot
the
harder.
New Super Mario Brothers
New Super Mario Brothers, yes.
I think 100%ing those games is just as hard as it is.
100%ing is hard, fine.
Well, that's what I do. I don't know what you do in your baby house.
I get tired by World 4 because I'm falling asleep.
Yeah, it's probably because you're not good enough to keep going.
It's probably because I have better games to play.
Yeah, right.
Hey, they're good games.
No, they are decent games.
So he interrupted you. The designer has interrupted you.
Yeah. That's fine. So you play Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3 with a Wii remote sideways, right? Because it's like an NES game.
Sure.
When you go to play Super Mario World with it, Mario World has that spin jump move that you can't do in the air. You have to do while planted. Yeah. There's a dedicated button for that when you play on a Super Nintendo controller. But when you play on a Wii remote sideways, you have to do the shake thing. And the shake thing you're used to doing in the Wii version and Super Mario World or New Super Mario World on Wii U.
New Super Mario Bros. On Wii U.
New Super Mario Bros. On Wii U, which you can do in the air. So that actually adds a technique when you're playing on the Wii U version or the Wii version, where you can do a triple jump and then shake
the little
and get
spin
an
jump,
extra spin to get that actually gets you.
Always liked that. That was a cool addition.
It adds a fourth jump almost if you're really good at what you're doing.
Absolutely.
But you're used to doing that shake move, but if you're playing with the Wii Remote sideways on the Super Mario World stages that don't have that extra dedicated button, you do the shake move and it just does that planted shake spin thing in the air. So everything gets screwed up in your brain. So it takes a little while to kind of work around that. Or you can just plug in a classic controller and go from there.
And go with a different button. I will say I always thought the spin move in World wasn't great. Like, it wasn't one of my favorite things to do. I
gotta get
prefer
good at
to
it.
just
and
run
in
and
Super
jump.
Mario 3D World?
No, in World, like Super Mario World for Super Nintendo. I never liked the spin
Me
jump.
too.
Well, it was
It's never
mostly
been
for
my favorite
secrets
thing.
where like
Yeah,
something is hidden, like a coin is
Yeah.
hidden behind breakable blocks, so you got to get
And
big
there's
first.
some people who are godly with it, but
It was,
I
it was,
never was
it was
one
for
of those.
secrets in certain enemies where you get that like that
Yeah.
pop noise, and then you can keep going on to
Well,
the next
and they
thing.
pop immediately. Whereas
Yeah, I
if
love
there was
that.
an enemy that you had to stomp on more than once, it would disappear entirely. Which is why I set one trap around that idea. But I have to admit, I wasn't crazy about staying there very long to test it because I just don't like the spin jump.
Well, so that's the other thing. Like when you're playing Super Mario World, they tell you through literal tutorials, which is I think one of the only Mario games where there's actually boxes that pop up that go like, "Hey, if you want to learn how to blah blah blah,
Yeah.
just press this button." I don't think every other Mario game is sort of pretty straightforward with that stuff.
Yeah.
I remember the first time you get the leaf in Super Mario Brothers 3, you're like, "What am I supposed to do here?" And you just start running, and you're like, "I can fly! Oh my god!"
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
But nothing in Mario Maker, obviously, because it's sort of self-taught, is telling you should use a spin jump here. So when you're playing the Super Mario World themed level that Jose makes, it's not in the back of your head, "Oh yeah, I can do that spin," because it's been like maybe 15
been a
years
while
since you
since
played
you've
that.
played it,
So
yeah.
that's something to take into account too, right? Is that you hand that controller to some kid who's been playing, this is his first Mario game, he might not remember that spin button or that spin move because his intuition is to run and jump. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff in there. There's
Yeah.
a lot that's like,
Sure.
some of it they plan for, some of it I think will come naturally, but man, it is such an incredible
Yeah.
game.
I mean, guys, when is this video posting?
Monday, it is going to be on IGN.
So look
We're
for
gonna
that
have a
video.
series.
I laughed. I mean, it starts a little slow
Yeah.
because you're giving some time to explore, but then the moment Brian gets pissed off, it gets highly entertaining.
You can see me get
Oh,
probably
you
more-
were honestly mad.
Oh,
I
I
could
got
tell by the
really
end. By
frustrated.
the
So
end of
That's
the
an edited
video.
video. Like, he was yelling the entire time.
Oh yeah, this is probably the most frustrated I've ever been in IGN.
I'm glad I could bring you that.
No, it was
I
great.
will say, I do want to clarify the For Babies comment earlier. Like, I feel like that's not what I should say, so I'm going to take that back. I am going to say instead that what bothers me most about New Super Mario Brothers is how unoriginal a lot of it felt. It felt very template to Mario 3.
Yes, I'll give you
And
that.
I feel like that, coupled with the fact that the challenge comes a little bit later,
yeah.
I've never really felt like I finished New Super Mario Bros. For Wii U, for example. Tried to finish Wii, which is a bit better, but didn't ultimately make it. I think I stopped
See,
at
because
World
I
8.
mean, like the way the Mario Maker is giving me sort of vibes of Super Luigi, where I'm just
you
like,
can make that.
I'm
yeah.
like, this is smart. It's
You could
fast,
even set the
it's
timer down
insane.
that low
Yeah.
to 99.
And I would argue that Super Mario World is a mostly pretty easy game, but when you start doing the secret exit and get the 96 gold
Yeah.
star thing, that's when it really opens up.
God, I
like
love
if you
that
get
game
into the
so much.
Star Road, you go
Yeah.
into like all the extra bonus levels. Like if you were to just drive straight through that game, it really only gets tough around probably the last two worlds get
yeah,
really
but it's
challenging.
surprising you all the time. I mean, the first level of that game, the biggest bullet bill, it is the shot heard around the world.
Oh,
The
yeah.
biggest bullet bill just flies out at you.
Yeah.
And it's not because it had to, it's because they could.
And that's how they
And
teach
a lot
you.
of the level design was that. It was the first time you saw things that you were just like, what? That's
And
crazy.
in the way the first Mario game teaches you to jump by putting an enemy in front of you that you can only get over by jumping,
Yeah.
Super Mario World teaches you how to duck
Yeah.
because it's the first time you can I think it's one of the first times you can do that. I forget if you can do it in 3.
No, you can do it in 3.
Oh, you can do it in
Yeah.
all of them, actually.
Yeah, you
in
can
all
do
of them.
them in
What am I
all of
talking
them.
about?
Yeah,
but it's the first time it
it's been a
teaches you to duck because that bullet bill comes flying
No.
over.
So,
Yeah.
and it's the first game you had Yoshi. I feel like, though, at the time, reviews were not kind to that game because you had things like Sonic that were sort of high speed,
Oh,
a different
yeah,
angle on
yeah.
the platformer, and World. If I remember correctly, at the time, World was not as fondly remembered as it is today.
Really?
Today, it is one of my favorites.
I
in
loved
that
it the
series.
moment I played it. I
yeah.
absolutely adored it.
I
And
love
then
it
when
too, but-
when I found the secret levels at the end, I'm like, this is the best
I
thing
love it too,
ever.
but I was in school at the time, and I remember that it was that sort of like Sonic's the car that can go faster, and I mean they literally had commercials where Mario
Blast
was in a
processing.
car that was just like. And then you saw this race car go by, and it was like Sonic will kill you or whatever. They
That's not how, quite
and,
how it went.
yeah, a lot of people at the time were kind of blinded by the speed of Sonic the Hedgehog games, and they didn't understand that speed led to a lack of intricacy in design and platforming, and then ultimately those games have aged terribly.
Spikes, boom.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, instant deaths and stuff
Yeah,
like
You
that.
should go back and look at reviews for Mario World because I swear it was eye-opening for me going back to old EGMs, looking these up and seeing that people acknowledged that it had its moments, but ultimately they felt that it was sort of a.
That's crazy.
That's
it was an
insane.
instant 10 for me. I'm not kidding.
No,
I would give that game
I was
a 10.
super happy with it as well.
And by the way, I think this discussion is interesting because everybody, I think everybody experienced these games at a different moment in time, maybe in their playing career.
Yeah.
Like New Super Mario Brothers, for example, I played as a 4-player game
Right, I
from
was
the
about to add
get-go.
that, yeah.
And so for me, it was not easy to finish a level because my freaking kids would always jump on my heads by accident.
I'm
and
so glad you said
know,
that.
like that game was a very different experience for me than for you, who played it all single
No,
player.
I played co-op too. Actually,
Yeah.
Francisco's the worst person to play New Super Mario.
Yeah, there you go.
because
Right.
He just goes, "I'm speed running, we out," and
Oh.
he just
Yeah,
runs.
yeah.
You're like, wait.
No, so I think you're totally right, because I think they intentionally left the level design, and there's nothing that can kind of save the kind of garish art style that is. It's okay. It's not.
Marty hates it. Don't
it's
even
generic,
get Marty
yeah.
It's
started on
generic.
it.
I don't hate it. I'm not against it. I think that after the third or fourth time seeing it in as many years, I was kind of over it. Like that kind of bummed me out because I grew up on Mario games that looked a little different each time. If you look at the difference between Super Mario 1, 2, 3, and World, and then 64, they are vastly artistically different games. Whereas we had four new Super Mario Brothers games in a row that looked exactly the same. We had a DS one, we had a Wii one, we had a Wii U one, and then we had Super Luigi. They all look the same. But I will admit that the Wii and the Wii U ones were sort of intentionally kind of empty, vapid, kind of more open, because it left that open for the utter chaos that came from having 3 or 4 players playing at once.
Sure. No,
Like the
that's fair.
roller coasters, man.
Yeah.
Holy
and
moly.
let's not overlook, like, yeah, sure, New Super Mario Bros. The art style plays it safe. I think that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
It is
But
safe.
Those were like those things sold better than the Galaxy games, which to me is just
Because
like,
they're so
why?
recognizable and accessible, right? Like 3D games are second nature for everyone like us, but not for kind of more casual players. And the Wii certainly was a success with the casual market.
Sure, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I wouldn't call the art style plays it safe, but I wouldn't say it was in a bad way.
No,
Like,
I think
Salt's
it's
Me
I
just
think
sort
it
of
I think it's
did
clean.
what
I
it
think it's
did.
pretty.
I thought it was really generic. Like it just didn't do anything surprising. Super Mario World actually has this cool kind of like the backgrounds are like 2D and like it's very stylized and simplified, and so it looks so clean and vibrant. Especially when you saw it running for the first time after coming off the NES, it just looked really really cool. And so at the time that these new Super Mario Brothers games came out, we had already seen really cool new platformers on iOS platforms and from indie developers with like shadow graphics and like you'd seen different art styles that made it really
Nintendo
cool.
Tried that.
Well, they
like
did
with the
later.
Donkey Kong. Well, and they also did
But
it with
those
like,
are
the
later.
Donkey Kong Country Return stuff. Like
Yeah, I mean,
they
to be-
eventually tried that
But
as well.
that's
To be
years
fair,
after the indies did it.
They did that
right?
in the entire subworld in Super Mario Brothers 2. Every time you threw a potion down, there were those shadow graphics. Like they did that first, if anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Like they sort of dropped the ball in that, and it wasn't so much that they put out that game that looked okay artistically. It was that they did it 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
You know, that 4 times in a row, the Mario Brothers games we got looked like that.
Yeah, that's why I think a lot of people latched on to the one world that had this artistic kind of like a Van Gogh look, right?
yeah.
And
That
so,
was great.
like, you saw that level, you're like, oh man, how cool it would have been if they had different worlds based on different painters or like something unique, which we have seen in Japanese RPGs, for example, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
But I mean, in the end, like now you're getting games that are made from yarn and like made from clay. So Nintendo definitely is trying to make the art style a
Ink
little
everywhere.
different, like
Yeah, no.
differentiating the game.
And we do
Absolutely.
have, I mean, we do have Paper Mario, which is like I always wanted the new Super Mario Brothers multiplayer platforming game that looked like Paper Mario. You know?
You did get that a little bit in that Super Paper Mario, but
Yeah.
that
Right.
game.
Well, that game was a decent RPG and a decent platformer, but it wasn't a great either.
It wasn't
you know?
good at either, really. Like
Jack
it was
of all
okay
trades,
for both.
master of
Yeah,
none.
master
No,
of
for
none.
sure.
That's a good example. All
All
right.
right, well,
so-
that's a good discussion on
Yeah, I
2D
didn't think
Mario
it was
design
gonna
philosophy.
stay that long.
But to end cap that, I'm incredibly excited for Super Mario Maker because
Oh, yeah.
I feel like this is, and I keep saying this on the show, but I really feel like this is going to be an endless supply of great content and great Mario levels.
Exactly.
And I'm terrified and excited to see what people make with this because they're going to try to break it, and that fascinates me.
I think when the game is out, we're going to ask our audience to make levels to troll Brian. I definitely want to.
Go for
And
it.
I mean, I'd love to do like we hand select NVC listener levels and do an article or a series on them. I mean, I would love to pitch a weekly video series where we're trying crowdsource
we got
levels.
stuff.
Like,
we got stuff in the pipe, bro.
I think there's so much fun stuff we can do there and so much audience interaction we can do there, and that's really exciting to me.
All right, we'll look forward to that. Video series starts next week. We should have 3 ready for you next week.
Yeah.
Followed by 3 more and maybe a surprise.
And I'm designing a level tomorrow that Jose's going to play.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't wait.
So I give him my
The
revenge.
For Babies Altano level is coming. All
and
right,
I actually
so
haven't made a level yet. So
speaking of kids, we're talking about Splatoon. Really quickly, the August update is out. It is out in the wild. The next Splatfest is announced for the U.S. It's going to be between hot dogs and marshmallows. Which do you prefer over a roasted fire? Team Marshmallow all the way.
Yeah, roasting's got it. You don't roast hot dogs.
You don't
Come
roast
on,
hot
that's
dogs. Yeah.
hot dogs are traditionally boiled. Okay.
Yeah, and the update's fun.
No, they are.
No, I know. I live in New York.
Right? Played briefly yesterday. We're going to talk more about this update next week. I feel like we want to take a
First
weekend
impressions?
and a week. Yeah, first impressions, very good.
It's really
New
cool.
music is awesome. Like, I love having new tracks to listen to and play.
Love the level changes.
The level changes are great.
The
The gear is funny. The new gear looks really good.
The slosher is very powerful.
Yes.
Holy
2 hits
moly!
and you're
Yeah,
done
I'm really
if
worried
you get
about
hit.
that one. I'm not going to be around for Splatfest. Unfortunately, I'm going to miss it.
Oh, yeah,
we're
when is it
we're
this
taking
weekend?
off. It's this weekend.
Maybe I'll jump in. I'm getting
Yeah.
2 wisdom teeth removed on Saturday morning, and I'm going to be hopped up on painkillers.
Remember to
groggy
pick
all
your
day, so.
pick your team now, so you're ready. You get your little T-shirt.
okay.
You got to wear that.
Yeah,
Okay.
you got to wear the T-shirt to participate.
Because you can already play and upgrade your shirt.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you want to upgrade perks on your shirt because it just helps you. If you don't, you don't. If you want to play some ranked, like, let me know, because we can always, or even just start a private match, but you won't get levels for private matches. But at least you can get back on the horse and learn how to play again. But yeah,
They added horses?
Yes.
Yeah, squids.
I wish.
Giant squids.
Squirces.
Squirces. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we've got a cool question of the week for you and a few rapid-fire news stories because we're actually running over time. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Here we go.
Welcome back. Jose Otero here with Per Schneider and Brian Altano. And we are talking about, so we're bringing back question of the week. And this question actually vexed both of you a little bit. We're going to lead this off with a discussion of our own.
I'm so vexed.
If you could only play 5 games for the rest of your life, what would they be? Now, I know that's a dramatic question. And it's also a personal question. Dun, dun, dun.
Immediately, I'd counter questions like, do I have an internet connection? Do I have any
you
console
do.
that I want?
Let's say any
Do
console.
I have friends? No friends?
Internet connection. You can make it right now. If you thought it would plop out of thin air right in front of you, and then that's all you
That's
can
great.
get. What would those games be?
That's super easy.
Do you want to do yours first? Do
Yeah.
you have 5?
I have 5. And so what the 5 games I picked are actually not my favorite games of all time.
So
Yeah.
why would you do that?
Because like the games like Metroid Prime and Super Metroid and all the Zelda games, and I've played so many times that I know them by heart. And so I picked games that I feel like are so vast that I've kind of forgotten where everything is, so I get a lot of play value out of them, or games that are truly endless, whether by design by the developer or just because of how you interface with them. And so like roguelikes and stuff would be really interesting for like a list like that because you can go back to them. But I actually picked very, very different games from that.
Okay, let's hear your list. What do
So
you got?
first one, Super Mario Maker.
Yeah.
I know it's not even out, but that is true endless design because if you have your friends with you, they can challenge you. You can download new levels from other people, and you can just keep on creating, and you come up with lots of new things. And I feel like it's one of those games where the levels we'll see now are going to be so different from the levels we'll see in a year, where people figure out stuff that Nintendo's designers never even thought of.
Plus, it supports all of your
Yeah.
amiibo, and you
Yeah.
can keep buying those in this fictitious nightmare world where games don't keep coming out.
No, you can't.
So you can't buy
no more
amiibo anymore?
Amiibo. No.
I'm leaving. I'm out.
So that's the first flight off this island.
So that game was a no-brainer for me. Number 2 is Rock Band. Because I feel
That's a
like
great
Rock
choice.
Band is like this game you can just like you've probably all fallen out of love with music games
Yeah.
because they take up a lot of room, they take a while to get going. Once you play one song, you're gonna love it again. It's just first of all, listening to music is always inherently fun, right? And then just think of Rock Band with all the different instruments. You can like play each song multiple ways. You got to master them. It just takes a very long time to master. I feel like that is an ideal game to have till the end of your days, because it's gonna take you a long time to get that game.
Are you allowed to play with friends in this fictitious scenario?
Yes.
You are.
Yeah.
So
5 games for the rest of your life.
So can they play games that like can they come back and tell
let's
you
not go
like
too deep. You're gonna get
they're
an
like, yo
aneurysm.
man, I'm playing Super Mario Galaxy 3. You don't even have that. You're not allowed to play it. I'm like, come on, let me out.
Yeah.
Let me out of this nightmare.
And again, I mean, the temptation is great to say Link to the Past, but man, I can walk through Link to the Past with my eyes closed.
Right.
So
like,
you're
it's
not the
still,
kind of person who can watch a movie more than once. Like
I can.
That's what I sort of think of when I think of games like playing A Link to the Past again.
Yeah.
I've seen this movie 100 times, but I like it so much that I don't mind.
Yeah, but I'm not running a
like
museum here. Okay,
Yeah.
like it's like
not running
no,
a
but
museum.
it's like have you ever read Fahrenheit 451? Right, like those games are in my brain, man. I can pass them on to the next generation of people.
By
I don't
oral
have to play
tradition?
them anymore. Exactly.
Nice. Okay.
That's how it works.
And
You
then this-
can
about it like
burn
this.
the games; they're still in my brain.
Jose, there's like the restaurant that's your favorite restaurant in the world that you can only go to like once a year. You know, like Amazing Steakhouse or something. And there's like the pizza spot on the corner that you want to go to a couple nights a week. Like that's how I thought about this. The same way as Pear, where there's just like I don't want something that's like the most special thing in the world to me. I want something that I can keep coming back to.
Okay.
Mostly.
That's
Mostly.
fair.
So with that in mind, Minecraft has to be on that
Yep.
list. I actually haven't played Minecraft in like a year.
Okay.
My kids play it every day, right? And mostly with the mods turned on. But like, Minecraft is. First of all, the developer supports it. Like, there's new content coming all the time, and I'm assuming the developers are still alive and doing that. So it's kind of like this. There's still this surprise after all this time when new features get added, new creatures, and new ways of exploring the game. So that is one reason too. Is like when you're playing with friends, you're just gonna mess around. You're just gonna create stuff, and I feel like it's like the best endless chat room. So quickly through my other 2 picks, I'd pick Fallout 4. I know it's not out yet,
That's not
so
fair.
that's
That's
cheating.
cheating.
So I would
Mario
pick.
Maker's not
so
out
I
yet.
would
That's
pick.
cheating.
No, that's not
Yeah,
cheating.
it
But
is
Fallout
cheating.
4, we don't really know if it's that good.
Mario
Whereas
Maker
Super
is
Mario,
cheating.
Super Mario Maker, we already played. We know that
Yeah.
game. It's here. Hey, it's in the building.
Cheating.
All right, I'll pick Fallout 3 or Skyrim then, because
Okay.
I feel like I want an open world game. I could have picked Arkham Knight, but you know I'm basically done with that game. But Fallout 4, Fallout 3, or Skyrim are these games where you can replay them and you can just play them differently and do different things. Be a completely different character. I can be lizard dude who swims underwater, and like I feel these games are so rich and there's always something new to discover. And then there's also the attraction of strange glitches in those games. Like you can figure out to do stuff, and it becomes this new form of entertainment. When the item duplication glitch thing, you guys remember that
Oh,
in
yeah, yeah,
Skyrim?
yeah.
Like, man, I was rolling cheese wheels down the hill like for a long time, or little glass vials. It's just really fun. Finally, I'm gonna pick one game that's new. That's Splatoon. I really love playing this game online, and I feel like it's one of those games that you can play casually for a couple of minutes, but you can also go really
matches are 3
hardcore
minutes, yeah.
and go back in. And like likewise with Minecraft, if Nintendo keeps this up and gives us new content releases, even if you have to pay for the future stuff, that's a great game to have till the end of the day.
Which so
Yeah.
far they're saying they're not. At least as of last interview, there's no plans for paid DLC. So
they
we'll
aren't.
see.
Just
I mean,
like
it's-
just like Smash Brothers, they'd never sell a character.
they never said never. They just
in
said
the
no
beginning,
plans.
they were
No
all
plans.
anti like level
Yeah, yeah.
releases.
Well, I mean, have
and-
you seen though? Like Sakurai has written entire columns about why they didn't want to like go near that because
Yeah.
they feel it's disingenuous and wrong to like not be done with the main game. Was his argument?
Yeah.
It not be done with the main
It
game.
is
and
just
be
supporting
planning
my
out
point, and then they did it.
How but
Yeah.
no, but it's supporting your point in a way that the shipping the initial game was more important than starting to plan things that are going to show up the next month.
Oh,
That's the
and-
larger point to
Well,
be made
Splatoon
here.
obviously is very different because you bought a game with deferred content. It was included
That
in the
content
price.
was done. I'm talking more about here. Like that was a more
It's an
staged rollout.
It's
pair.
an
Like, hang on a
online
minute.
shooter with levels and items and perks and characters. They're gonna make updates. There's just no way around it. It's like, of course.
I know we've taken chances on bets like that before on this show, and we've
All right.
been disappointed.
All right, I'll bet you a hamburger right now.
You gonna bet me
Yeah.
a hamburger right now?
Yeah.
Splatoon will have paid DLC.
No
Yes.
cheese?
Well,
No cheese.
no, I'm saying it might not be paid. It might be DLC past
No,
this point.
Paid DLC. Of course, there's going to be DLC past this point. There's.
Oh, okay. I
there
thought
will
you were
be
saying
stages,
no
There
updates.
will be other things.
Okay.
There will be variants on the slosher and on the I don't think they've said this, but I would be willing to bet variants of the slosher, variants of the splatling, and probably
yeah.
another weapon no one has even thought about, and that's fine. I'm talking about paid DLC. Are you ready to bet your little hamburger on that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they'll have paid DLC.
All right, let's shake on it.
Yeah, all right. Hamburger.
Okay, hamburger it is.
Like in 30 years, he'll call me. He's like, you never give me that hamburger. I'm
No,
like,
I
wait,
wouldn't.
they're still working on it.
I don't care for
Yep.
hamburger.
Yep.
I'm fine. All right, so should I read my list or you want to read yours?
No, you can do yours.
Okay, so my list as of right now, and I made some changes while we were talking because I thought about sort of the online value and the replayability of some of these games. And so as a result, I do have one online game on here, and it is Mario Kart 8. Love that game.
Yeah,
Great.
It's a good one.
Absolutely love to play that game. It is a game that, regardless of who I'm playing with, I have a great time. I love the fan service. It is a shame because unlike Splatoon, it's still not getting content, but I think eventually with Splatoon, that's gonna run out. But absolutely adore that game. Zelda Wind Waker HD, because I love exploring that world.
Yeah.
I love exploring that ocean. Yes, it's the same meal every time, but it's still a meal that ultimately I very much enjoy. I can totally play that game again and again and
I love
still feel involved.
You don't think after the third time in a row you're gonna get a little bored?
No, not Wind Waker.
I haven't played it in a few years and then played Wind Waker HD, and like I remember every dungeon so well. Like I just know what's in every quadrant on the map.
That's because the Germans have better memories than the
That's
rest of
maybe
us.
it.
that could be it. No, but seriously, to respect your point, I totally hear you on that. I'm the kind of person who, when I really like something, I don't mind being exposed to it more and more and more, and I catch something slightly different each time.
I get that, and obviously I love that game to pieces. I would love to keep that game around, of course.
Yeah.
But I feel like a game like Skyrim or Fallout game, you have leveling up and like whatever you can go back and you can grind and do these things that will directly impact your character, and you can improve things.
Yep.
So which is something that we don't have in a Zelda game.
So my next one I just changed in real time because initially I had Miss Pac-Man there because Miss Pac-Man will forever be a game that I will never forget.
That is a great choice.
Love that game, but I replaced it with Pac-Man Championship Edition because there is much more nuance to that game. I love the scoring angle and the sort of the skill, and just perfecting runs is so important in that game. Like figuring out like the optimal path for how to sort of gobble everything up and not get a trail of ghosts behind you, but not get affected by that.
That game is so good. If I want one modern arcade machine, it's Championship Edition.
Yeah, Championship Edition. DX is good too, but I feel like I was more impressed with the first Championship Edition than I was DX. Tetris DS is on there because I will forever be a slave to Tetris. Like I feel like Tetris is one of those games that even though you start from level 0 and you build your way up to level 9, you are constantly playing with the sort of the variations and the shapes that are coming at you. That game's a little easy because this is post Game Boy Tetris where you press a button to save a block for when you need it later.
Hold and stuff like that. Yeah.
But I did appreciate that even though I didn't stick around with the other flavors of Tetris that they put into Tetris DS, I really enjoyed that they tried them, and I love the 80s fan service that is all over that game. That game has more sprites running around it that we didn't see until NES Remix. Honestly, you saw a Link run by, you heard remixes of Donkey Kong music in that game. Amazing work. Last game on my list is actually a single-player game. Because I won't play the multiplayer part. Because I can't put Metal Gear Solid 5 because it's not out there and I don't cheat, unlike some people at this table. I will put Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence because that game is filled with so many Easter eggs and the systems are so deep.
Wow, 3, really?
3 is an amazing game. It is possibly my favorite one in the series.
Wow.
Because of how deep it is. I mean,
I barely played 3.
You can really,
Yeah.
you have missed out on one of the best boss fights in the history of video games. The end, the sniper, is one of the smartest ideas that they have ever had. The fact that you can set the clock ahead a week and he dies of old age, like that's insane. Like there are little Easter eggs like that all over that game. Boss fights were really good. Characters were really good. I mean, some were ridiculous. Like the pain is the dumbest thing ever. But I will say, like, as far as deep systems, you can poison a ration and toss it out for a hungry soldier, and he'll eat it and get sick. Like right there.
Oh, that's great.
Like there's things like that at play. Very emergent, like cool ideas. So that's made
nice. Yeah, it's a really interesting list. It's you're missing Super Mario Maker though.
Yeah,
it's not out yet. I feel wrong putting that. And then what would I replace? That's the question, right?
What would you get rid of it if it was out? Would you get rid of something?
Would I put it on the list?
Yeah.
Absolutely, I would put it on the list because I could spend hours on that.
Yeah,
thing
you should get rid of Tetris then.
No, never.
So my list is actually sort of like a combination of both of yours in some ways. I have Minecraft on there for sure. Less so much for the friendship stuff, but more because it's just like one of the most incredible single player games ever made in terms of just messing around. Like I could sit there and I could build a house and I could tear it down and then build a mansion and tear it down and then build a sky mansion and tear it down. Like it is literally endless in terms of what you can do.
You can build a computer.
Yeah.
Right? Like one that works.
And that's like I probably put 100 hours into Minecraft and I never learned how to make like the redstone switch stuff, like once all that gets in, and like that would be a next part of my life. I also wanted to add to this question: in a world where I can only play 5 video games forever, I'm not playing video games much anymore.
Really?
Not really.
Well, you're too creative, I think, to be strapped down to 5 games.
Yeah, I would.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I would get, and I would also get really frustrated because it's just like, I mean, I'd have to lose this job, I guess, because I couldn't work here anymore and read.
We're taking this way too deep.
No, because video games to me is a big part of video games is watching how they progress and evolve and where they go next, and the sort of cycle of excitement from when a game is announced to here's the preview of it to it's out to let's talk about it months later.
Trying to tell me this are you trying to tell me this was a dumb question?
No, I think it's a good question.
So
I'm just refining it.
Okay.
What about if I put on my list like Desaimon, which is a shooting construction kit game that I played a lot on the Super Famicom.
Yeah.
Like I could make shooters and then I'll come over and I'll go, Brian, I've got this new shooter for you.
Right.
But the information is embargoed until next week. But I'll show it to you right now. Would that satisfy your editorial brain?
Would that satisfy my job to get a bunch of people to read content at IGN.com if I was only writing articles about your weird Japanese Desai?
Exactly. You can say Pierre Schneider made a 2D Star Wars fighter where you're a TIE fighter.
Hey, I would say your name right at the least.
Good.
Number 2, obviously, Super Mario Maker. It's not out yet, but from what we played in the office, and even if we just kept the build we had here, I think there's enough. Which isn't full, but I think we would have enough there for me to find a new Mario level or two to play every single day in this horrible nightmare world where I can only play 5 games.
It's so good.
Yeah.
How did none of us put an Animal Crossing game? I'm sorry.
I'm getting there. Number 3.
I was thinking about that.
Number 3, Tetris. Probably either the NES or the Game Boy one, because that is one of those. Every time we think of this question, it's sort of we keep thinking about these endless open world games, and I think Tetris is one of the ones where I could sit down for 5 minutes. Or I could sit down for 45 minutes and I could play a game of Tetris. You know, if I went in and set the settings so it was hard enough, I could be like, I only feel like playing a 5-minute game today. It's perfect for that. In the same way that you pick Splatoon, because that's something I think you could play a round or two and walk away.
Yep, exactly.
Whereas Fallout, you don't want to sit and play that game for 5 minutes.
Quickly shoot Jose and then get off.
You don't shoot Jose.
Number 4, Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. That is the only game on the list that I would put where I know top to bottom, but it's comfort food to me. Also, the Game Boy version has a cool glitch that lets you sort of portal jump around the entire world, which completely changes sequence breaking you can do in the game.
Is it still in the Virtual Console version?
It's not in the Virtual Console version because the Virtual Console version they ported was the Game Boy Color version where they patched the DX version. It's only in the original Game Boy version. It's the only version I would play on this list. So it's weird. 2 games on my list.
They picked DX for that one, but when they put Donkey Kong 1990, it was the original.
And not the Super Game Boy.
Maybe it's because of that glitch.
I have problems with that.
This is really interesting. None of us picked a random, like a game, like a Mysterious Dungeon or Spelunky or anything with randomized levels.
That's actually really
Spelunky's a good choice.
Yeah. And number 5 would be Animal Crossing for GameCube. And this is kind of a cheat, and I'll explain why. Animal Crossing for GameCube is my favorite of the Animal Crossing games, despite the fact that they added connectivity and all
you're
this
cheating.
other stuff.
I know what you're doing.
It's all my house.
You're cheating.
Has 25 classic NES games in it. So my 5th game is actually another 26 games.
You're totally cheating.
Yeah. Nice work.
But that's good. That's legal, right? That's street legal.
All right.
I thought, then you got to get like rare games with like hidden Donkey Kong and everything. Like,
no, I don't want that.
You
That's just one
have
game.
to play Donkey Kong 64.
And I mean, I know this is a Nintendo podcast, but I've been playing Rare Replay recently.
I just bought it. I haven't played it yet.
And it's really tough going back to a lot of those old
Really?
games. Yeah. And I know there's a lot of Nintendo games on there.
I'm going to play Perfect Dark 4-player split screen with the kids.
Are you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Is it... What? Are you saying it's not going to be the same?
No, I mean, some memories are better left as memories.
And then I'm going to play Time to Get Moving.
Yeah, time to get moving.
Okay. So speaking of time to get moving, let's move over to news very quickly because we got to go. We're running a little over.
Time for some
So
news.
first, started out as a rumor that GameStop was taking pre-orders for a retro 3-pack amiibo collection. This was all over the place. Then it happened to be real. This is happening on Saturday, August 8th. The store will open 1 hour earlier.
Wait, that's in 2 days.
Yeah.
In 2 days, which the reason Pear is bringing this up, because I am kind of annoyed by this, that it is a 2-day window to basically tell you have to stand at a store because it's in store only, which I respect.
I
if
don't.
that's how you have to do it to prevent your systems from going down, because the NES pre-order was a disaster.
So
at
get better
GameStop,
systems. That's not my problem.
It isn't your problem. I agree.
Yeah.
And you do import amiibo, so you go around it. But I'm more upset at, like, I don't like GameStop, first of all. I know some employees listen to the show, but I just don't like your stores. Second, and that's not your fault. Second, I just think 2 days' notice is wildly inconsiderate.
I think that
schedules.
waiting on a street in front of a store to open at 7 o'clock in the morning for anything in the world is unreasonable and stupid in 2015 when I should just be able to buy those online.
Yeah, but online's becoming a race where everyone, like, I mean, you can bring entire pre-order systems down.
Great,
because
but then,
so many
then you
people are
allocate.
interested.
You
Like,
allocate.
how do you allocate? How do
you
fix
allocate
that?
enough for each store, and then you allocate enough for the internet.
Yeah, but Nintendo's still not doing a great job of allocating, and I think that's the other issue. I think up to 80 in some cases are going to stores. Like, I'm not entirely sure what is going on.
Then we can trace the problem past GameStop and to Nintendo, and I think that now the problem was bad with Nintendo, and now stores like GameStop are making it worse. If you look at the exclusivity on the next wave, it is a nightmare, and which is why Per and I import everything.
Yeah,
and for someone like you,
it's-
honestly, like you're a collector that keeps them in the packaging, I think this is like kind of a slap in the face to you.
It's been one.
Because it's like taking all three of these characters and putting them in one box when they have no association with each other aside from the fact that they're retro is a pain in the ass, and it actually it's a blight on your physical collection.
Well, it's definitely they're only related because they all were from the 80s, which is the idea, right? It's Duck Hunt, it's Rob the Robot, and it's Mr. Game & Watch. I don't know. I don't. Nintendo has never flooded the retail channel with product, even when something's selling. During the Wii era, we saw it constantly, where the thing was selling every week, but it didn't matter because shipments were very limited, and they're very conservative. That's how it works.
Yeah.
What if this pre-order happens and people line up and each person gets their pre-order and then there's still some in store? In stock. I mean, we don't know yet what the numbers are going to be, right?
We don't.
But
That's fair.
I hear you. I mean, I don't have a problem with GameStop. I think, as a specialty retailer, GameStop does a good job at having the stuff in stock that you're looking for,
Yep.
right? Like,
That's fair.
even when, if my stylus breaks, I know I can go to GameStop and pick up a pack, like third-party ones or whatever. And usually the employees at GameStop are actually gamers and fans of the product they sell. Whereas, like, if I go into any other kind of non-specialist retailer, they haven't unboxed the game that came out on a Tuesday yet. It's somewhere in the warehouse. They may not even know it,
fair,
right?
Fair. I definitely agree with you on the employees are nice people for the most part, and I've seen some of them are friends and fans of this show. And in terms of having product and being aware that product is in the store, they win. I'm talking more about the shopping experience. I walk in there and it feels like a ghetto sometimes because of the used product area and just how unmanaged and unkept
it's for
that stuff
gamers,
is.
man.
I mean,
Gamers are not that unorganized, first of all. And second of all, like, I do wish we can be. No, that's fair. We can be, but I'm not impressed by the shopping experience.
Aside of their business ethics and all of that stuff, which is, we could do a whole show about that.
We can, which we should.
I think the main issue here is that this 3-pack and any 3-pack sort of, and I think the Splatoon one makes a little more sense, but even those they sold individually. It assumes that every single person buying an amiibo is the type of person who wants to buy every amiibo, which people in this room understand because we're in a weird cult together. But if my main character in Smash, if my main character in Smash was Mr. Game & Watch, I can't buy him for under $35 because I have to buy 2 other characters with him. Why? Does that make any sense to you?
No, this is fair. If you were looking for one of them, but I do think they are a pack. As far as 3-packs go, they are 3 smart characters to bundle together.
Yeah, and they're not
because you know what a Game & Watch is, you know what a Dunk Hot Dog is, and you know what a Rob is.
We're not talking about Pikachu here, right? Like,
No.
you're talking about 3 unknown characters that really classic game fans would know.
Known to most Nintendo fans, but not known to most.
No,
like
but
the younger
that's why this is
generation.
not a big deal to me that they're bundled. I just think, like, I was hoping we'd be past this lineup, whether it's lining up online or in store. I don't really care. I have a store near me, but like, it's just.
Are you gonna
so
go?
No,
You're out of
I'm
town.
actually out of town. I can't go. So
Yeah, well, while I was out of town,
Yeah.
they sold Palutena on Amazon.
yeah.
I didn't know, so I wasn't too happy about that.
yeah.
So I'm going to do what I do with the rest of these, which is go on eBay, pay twice as much as I should be, and just getting the peace of mind. And that's a huge problem. That my Amiibo collection is going to be twice as much more expensive than it needs to be because I don't feel like camping in front of a store on Market Street in San Francisco, which is basically a bathroom.
And that means $40 were spent on one Amiibo, and Nintendo doesn't see any of your money, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's an issue that they need to solve.
Well, and let's not even begin to talk about that we don't know in regards to the Super Mario Maker amiibo, the 30th anniversary sort of sprite-based amiibo that comes in 2 flavors.
Yep.
I really hope they have enough supply for those, because that's one I know a lot of people are really going to want, because there's so much interest in that game.
Yep.
And if the shopping experience is a bad one, which it can be, thank goodness you can unlock that stuff in the game already on its own.
I mean,
well, no, you can't actually unlock what that does. It does like some weird screen effect and characters change sprites. Oh, forget it. Let's just move on.
Yeah.
I don't want to stay on this forever. On September 11th, you're also going to be able to get Zero Suit Samus,
Great character,
Olimar,
awesome
Bowser Jr.,
figure,
Dr. Mario, Ganondorf. These are all high quality. We've unboxed them on IGN. You
all
should check
4
that
of
out.
them are great. I love them all 4.
If you're going to pre-order the Retro 3-pack, those are available September 25th. So you can look out for that. Let's see. Again, moving really quickly. Zelda Triforce Heroes has a release date, October 23rd.
Yep.
Which is also the same day that there's an amiibo coming out in another territory. Which one was it?
Mewtwo in the UK.
Mewtwo.
Yeah.
Is coming out October 23rd as well. Triforce Heroes, I'm excited for.
Me too.
Really weird to hear that date
too.
not through a Nintendo Direct.
Oh.
Yeah. In this post, Iwata Nintendo.
But maybe that's part of it too, right? Like they're trying to
gotta
figure
put the
out
word out.
what is the Nintendo Direct without Iwata now going to be. So.
And if it's still even that name,
Yeah.
So we'll see. Let's see. Telltale's Walking Dead could be coming to Wii U. Basically a listing in the UK.
Is that both seasons? Possibly.
That's so late.
It is super late.
That being said, if you only own a Wii U and you haven't played this, it's really, really awesome.
But if you
October
only
30th,
own a Wii U,
combo pack, Game of
then
the Year edition of Walking Dead Season 1 and Walking Dead Season 2.
I would say if you only own a Wii U, you're not listening to the show. You're probably listening to it on your iPhone or on your computer,
Which
or
also runs it,
you can play these games on every platform out there. It feels really late. That said, I love the first season of that game. It's not a great game system, but it's a really cool game. Really
but
enjoyed
I will say
it.
this is a life sign for me. The Minecraft deal was a life sign for me at first, because none of the Telltale games were on Wii U, like none of them, and I thought that was strange because they were everywhere else. Like I remember walking around the office being like, "Why is this not a thing? I don't understand."
It wasn't a technical limitation at all. It was.
It seems like it was business, but no one's gone on record to say what the business hiccup was until now it's possibly happening. Okay, Mighty Number 9 got delayed. This is a huge bummer because we saw this game at E3. I played this game at E3. It seemed done to me.
Yeah.
But they're saying there are still bugs and issues pertaining to online features that are included in the game. These bugs and issues have a direct effect on the enjoyment, so a decision was made to work these issues out before release. Now it's Q1 2016.
Yeah.
Online features,
Yeah.
Is Wii U going to see those?
Probably.
Yeah?
I don't think they've said it's not going to. I mean, it's backed on every platform. So
I think this is ridiculous, honestly. I mean, this is basically a Mega Man game. Do you remember, what were your favorite online features?
But
in
you
Mega
know
Man
what?
2?
But what it is, though, is a developer having complete control, right, rather than a publisher. And so they're making choices that may not be popular with us because we have to wait longer, but they're making those choices because they want the product to be better.
Well, how about give me an abridged version of the product I can play tomorrow if I don't care about online
But then most other people who are not Brian would be mad that they're doing the Metal Gear thing
think,
or the
It's true.
Gran Turismo thing.
Yeah.
And it's a tough pickle to be in, too, if you think about it, because this game was backed and funded through a lot of money from people, from fans. And I think ultimately they want to make sure those fans get what they paid for.
Yeah. But it would be cool to put it out early for like Steam, like early access or something,
Sure,
Yeah.
why not? Yeah. All right.
No, that's a good idea.
Last story. Europe has a Super Mario Maker Wii U Premium Pack. This looks cool. So it's a Wii U Premium console, Super Mario Maker, Mario Classic Colors Amiibo, an 8-bit Mario soft toy, Super Mario Maker art book, and a Super Mario Maker t-shirt that's in yellow, and it's 259 euros. 259.99.
I want it. Can I have it? Why don't we get as many bundles?
Europe takes a lot more chances on product, whereas I feel like NOA is more conservative, and that might be why NOA, I don't know, they just seem to be... They run lean and they play it safe.
Well, it's a big country, right? Like getting product to stores is a completely different story, right? Like Germany is the size of California, right? Like it's very difficult, I think, to make things happen over here.
Some people take the cynical side and say NOA just doesn't care, but I think NOA tries. It's just one of those cases where they have to think about, how much they're willing to, if they're willing to take a loss on some of this.
And there's also a difference, like retailers in the US are probably less likely to take a lot of different SKUs, right? Because they want to sell out what they have. And,
Sure.
Yeah, some of
We
that
could do
stuff
a
hasn't been
whole
selling so well.
episode on the myth
Totally.
that is what the decisions that NOA makes versus the ones that they don't.
Such as I'm seeing your ginormous 3DS here.
Yeah, and sadly, my villager is still not tan enough yet. This is what I have to go through.
You're
but
waiting.
anyway,
Yep.
you don't have to go through this podcast anymore because we're done. Thank you so much for listening to Nintendo Voice Chat. We are a weekly show on IGN, but we are not the only show on IGN. There are, in fact, Podcasts Unlocked. Brian is on Podcast Beyond. You should probably talk to one of these shows about Rare Replay. Maybe talk to McCaffrey. Get on Unlocked.
Sure.
Grab the podium.
I've tried to be on that show twice, and both times the laptop broke. So I think I'm cursed on that show.
You have a new show,
I
a
do.
new old show coming back.
That's right.
Speak of this.
August 14th, my good friend Max Scoville and I will be co-hosting a brand new show that's kind of an old show, but in a new format called Up at Noon Live. It'll be Friday at noon.
At noon?
At noon.
Oh.
Live.
Oh.
So you can interact with us on the fly right here on IGN. Pacific time. Obviously, look up what the time that is in your country. I have no idea. If you're on the East Coast, it's 3. Anything beyond that, I'm lost.
Beyond?
Beyond. So come check that out. It's a kind of weekly video game comedy entertainment show. We're going to talk about games, pop culture, movies. We're going to have Photoshop contests and take questions from Twitter. And it's going to be messy and fun. And
So if you guys
wonderful.
make bad jokes, we can't cut them out.
No,
it's
that's
all
that's
out
the
there.
problem. They're all out there, and it's completely improv, so there's no script really.
Did you sign something that indemnifies IGN if you say something wrong?
No,
like,
we should
I'm
talk
like,
about that.
Yeah,
You're
like
the
watching
GM,
Donald
you should know
Trump
this.
on TV. Yeah.
Let's not
Like,
even open
Luckily,
that
we're
can.
friends, so you have my back.
All right,
right?
good.
Okay.
Oh,
good.
for sure.
So,
All
yeah,
right.
so that's that.
So
Come
check
check
that
it out.
out. Up at
yes.
Noon is back starting
August 14th.
All right, so that's very soon. So
That's
make
right.
sure you check that out right here on IGN. You can also find our Super Mario Maker Editor Challenge. The first video goes up on Monday. Be
Watch
excited.
it.
Is that you and
Please
I?
watch
Fun.
it.
That's
Yeah.
me and you.
Monday?
We kick it off Monday. Really good time, really good fun.
Awesome.
Lastly, there's a couple things you can do for us if you're a fan of MVC. First of all, leave us a review. Head on over to iTunes. Let us know what you think of the show. Your reviews always help with visibility. They always help with giving us feedback in terms of what we're looking for. Secondly, you can send an email to nvc@ign.com. And in fact, in the article for this episode, you should tell us the 5 games that you would play
Yeah.
if you could not play any other games. Like, these are the 5 that you're going to play for the rest of your life. Lastly, don't forget we're talking about Splatoon next week. Callie Plaguey will be joining us. It'll be fun. She has taken her first dive into Splatoon, and she can't wait to talk about it. So hang on and make sure you check that out.
Sweet.
Lastly, you can find us on Twitter. You can find Per Schneider at.
Pair IGN.
You can find my good friend Brian Altano at.
At Agent Bizzle.
I almost got that wrong. You can
8-bit Bizzle.
And you can
like that
find
one.
myself, Jose_Otero on Twitter. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back next week with more Nintendo Voice Chat.
Bye.